Alrighty, friends. Hopefully we are good. Um, so in full transparency, I am having issues in controlling my screen. So I'm going to ask the assistance of Brianna to help advance, and hopefully we can engage in this conversation. Give you an overview of what we're talking about today before you should see our agenda. Give you some insight into OPD. We're going to talk about traffic stops from the perspective that it is a policing equity issue. We're going to talk a little bit about road safety and public safety. We're going to talk about safer traffic stops for all. And then we're going to close out with some upcoming events and giving you some ideas and some tips on how we can all move forward in a positive way. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the Maryland Office of the Public Defender. We are the largest criminal defense firm in the state of Maryland. We are approximately 1,100 employees. Of those 1,100, almost 600 are attorneys. And we are in every jurisdiction throughout the state of Maryland. And in order to provide the representation, we have 52 offices statewide. And our offices are divided into 12 geographical districts that mimic the district courts of Maryland. In addition to our trial teams in the various districts, we have specialty litigation and litigation support divisions that include appellate, decarceration initiative, forensics, forensic mental health, immigration, the Innocence Project Clinic, juvenile protection, mental health, parental defense, post-conviction, and social work. All of these divisions work in line with our attorneys to support the work that we do throughout the state of Maryland. We practice the holistic defense model, essentially in defending individuals in criminal matters. We look to the entire person. Individuals are not defined by the single event or moment in time that brought them into the criminal legal system. So it's important when we defend individuals that we present to the court and the various legislative bodies information that truly explains the individuals and the communities that we serve. Next slide, please. So our mantra is justice, fairness, and dignity for all. And when we speak about safer traffic stops, it's important for us to think about those who have lost their lives in relation to traffic stops. Some of the names that have been prevalent in the media of recently are reflected here. Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Walter Scott, DeMonte Ward Blake, Tyrone West, Sean Dean, all have one thing in common. Each of these individuals' lives tragically ended at the hands of the police following an unnecessary traffic stop. Lives that were taken too soon and did not need to be lost. Next slide, please. When we're talking about the issues, especially when we're talking about traffic stops, it's important to keep in mind some really startling statistics. And the reality is that less than 1 in every 45,000 police-citizen encounters end with a citizen fatality. But when the citizen dies, a Black American is twice as likely as a white person to be a victim. Next, please. When we're looking in terms of traffic stops, we also focus on what is happening in Maryland. So from 2023 data, we know that Black drivers constitute approximately 43% of all vehicle traffic stops. And this is despite the fact that Black Americans only constitute 30% of the state's population. So what do we know? And these stats come from the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention and Policy. We know that Black drivers are 4 times more likely to be the subject of a warrantless vehicle search than their white counterparts. And I take a moment to note that in this presentation, and if you registered, you will receive a copy. There are hyperlinks that will bring you to the exact data in which we refer in our slides. So you can further take a look in terms of the different information that is providing in the data that is being collected. We also know that race-based traffic stops are often based on low-risk infractions that do not create a safety risk to anyone either inside or outside of the vehicle. These infractions are known as non-safety related traffic stops. For example, that includes an expired registration, an expired inspection, or emission stickers. It includes items that may be hanging from the rear view mirror. It also includes a missing taillight or a missing headlight. Non-safety related traffic stops also increase the risk of physical, psychological, and economic harm, especially when we talk about communities of color, especially in Black communities. And that is in addition to the social costs inherent in any police encounter. You think about the level of stress and fear, not only by the individuals who are in the car, but you think about the officers that are approaching a stranger in a vehicle on the side of the road. The stress and the fear that is in both parties is in fact real. So when we talk about safer traffic stops, it is a matter of racial equity. So racial equity demands road equity. Permitting law enforcement officers to stop for non-safety related traffic infractions results in racially disparate policing. In order to say that we are a state that supports racial justice, it is incredibly important that we end this practice in Maryland. So when we're looking to the issues of racial equity as it speaks to road equity, there are a number of other jurisdictions that have adopted policies that limit police stops for minor infractions. We have our sister cities since 2020 that have implemented policies that either limit or eliminate stops for major traffic violations. That includes Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Seattle, Mecklenburg County, I believe that's in Minnesota, North Carolina, as well as Berkeley, in addition to Los Angeles, have all implemented these policies. There are also 2 jurisdictions that are also making statewide changes. Virginia and Oregon are also included. When we think about non-safety related stops, we also think about the practical things. You think about non-safety related stops, they block the flow of traffic. They impede pedestrian walkways or bike lanes, and they also impede access of emergency vehicles. They also divert attention, time, and resources away from traffic enforcement, things that actually would make our roads safer. So Maryland deserves safer roads. That cannot go without being said. So reducing the number of low safety risk stops lowers the racial disparities in traffic enforcement, and it does in fact allow officers to focus on improving road safety. So how can we redirect police efforts? So we think about in Maryland, the stops for equipment and registration related violations comprise about 44% of all traffic stops. So we contrast that. The officers make significantly less stops. Because of that, they're making significantly less stops for moving violations, about 11.8% less, and reckless driving, about 1.17% less. And again, this data comes directly from the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention and Policy. So race safety is public safety. And we talk about safer traffic stops for all. And what is the benefit? It reduces the time and effort spent on enforcement of minor traffic infraction. Again, we're talking about the things like the broken tail light, items hanging from the rear view mirror, and expired admissions. This also frees up resources for law enforcement to focus on things such as dangerous driving and matters that are of serious safety concerns. What we're speaking about is essentially has wide support. So from this graph, you see that voters across the political spectrum, both Democrats and Republicans, support limiting low-level traffic stops. There is a general acceptance and understanding that banning that we should change our efforts so that officers are more focused on matters of road safety that really speak to things that can cause harm. So, for example, a burnout tail light or a noisy muffler or something hanging from, like air freshener hanging from a rear view mirror, are not those type of situations. And when polled, individuals overwhelmingly say yes, they would in fact support. Next, please. Again, when we think about reform across the country, we make note that in 2020, after enacting a traffic stop reform, Virginia saw a 40% reduction in the number of Black drivers that were searched, even when the overall number of traffic stops increased slightly. We look to Ramsey County in Minnesota, where their reforms led to police decisions not to prosecute non-safety related stops, and also the creation of policies that ceased making such stops. What the impact was, Black drivers experienced a drastic reduction in stops for equipment violation and searches. They also found that there was no negative impact on traffic safety or crime itself. Further reforms across the country in the realm of the idea that these type of traffic stops are necessary is happening in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They passed the driving equity ordinance, and the year after that went into effect, more traffic stops resulted in the recovery of a gun than in 2019, despite the fact that police made 70% fewer stops. So essentially, they were able to focus on safety issues by making that equity change. These results we find are consistent with the notion that eliminating the low-level stops forces the police to be more intentional with their searches and contradict oft-reported claims that such stops are necessary to get guns off the street. And again, I emphasize that traffic stops of the type targeted by law involving Black officers decreased 54% in the law's first year. And again, this was the driving equity ordinance that was enacted in Philadelphia. So secondary violations, non-safety related traffic laws enforceable only as a secondary violation. And that is what we are seeking to propose. That would include driving with an object hanging from your rear view mirror, driving with a frame or border that is obscuring your license plate, driving with a partially obscured license plate, violating passenger restrictions on provisional license holders. So essentially, if, for example, if you are a new driver and you are not permitted as a provisional driver to drive with someone else, and not necessarily a situation where your driving is hazardous or reckless, driving without your headlights in rainy conditions, and failure to wear a seatbelt by a passenger over 16 in the back seat. Next, please. Our proposed new non-safety related traffic laws, which would be enforceable only as a secondary violation, would include driving an unregistered vehicle or with expired registration tag for more than 3 months, driving without a functioning headlight, brake light, or tail light, driving without mirrors or obstructed or damaged mirrors, driving with window tint, or failure to illuminate a license plate. Our proposals further include driving in a dedicated bus-only lane, excessive noise, driving with your radio too loud. It would also include failure to signal, lane change, stop, or start, and that would be due to an equipment failure otherwise. And we also include littering on the roadways. These provisions that we call Safer Traffic for All are brought to you by our sponsors, and we say a special thank you to Senator Charles Sydnor and Delegate Scott Phillips for taking the lead and bringing forth what we propose to be an extremely important bill, especially when we speak about road safety and racial equity. In regards to what else is happening in OPD, January the 16th is MOPD Lobby Day. We ask that you join us for a rally on Lawyers Mall that will take place at 12:30. We will be speaking and advocating for safer traffic stops for all, in addition to the much needed additional resources for the Office of the Public Defender, as well as ending the automatic charging of children as adults. And we're also advocating for the geriatric and medical parole, amongst many, many other things. January 25th, Maryland Equitable Justice Collaborative. The event of the season is the release of the report. There will be a report release and a reception so that we can put forth the work the collaborative has done. That is the partnership between the Office of the Public Defender and the Office of the Attorney General. We are looking forward to putting forth our first set of recommendation. And in March, we celebrate Gideon's Day. Just to give you an idea of upcoming events, but OPD is in the community with the community, advocating and educating throughout the year. These are just some highlights of things to come at the beginning of the year. To find out more information about the issues that we have presented, other matters on our legislative agenda, please scan for information. If you are registered to speak with us, if you had registered to join here today, I ask that you reach out with any questions. We'd be happy to speak to you or answer emails. If you registered, you'll receive a copy of the PowerPoint. And the added benefit is that within the PowerPoint, there are several hyperlinks that will take you to additional information. So that you remain educated and connected and informed, I ask that you follow us on our various platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, X, And our website is www.opd.state.md.us. And before I forgot an important point. This evening, today, November the 19th, we will be at Catonsville Library, further discussing the issues of safer traffic stops for all. Our legal eagles and experts are going to be on hand. Tia Holmes and Debbie Levy will lead the panel discussion in regards to this issue. The event begins at 6 o'clock. If you are in the area of Catonsville Library, we will be there from 6 to 8. Come to learn more in depth about the topic, but also come with questions, come to provide your support. I encourage you, it will be an incredible evening. Bring some friends. If you have any questions, on the screen now is our contact information. Thank you. And I'm going to go off share. I believe Tia Holmes and Debbie Levy are here with us as well, and open to answer any questions in regards to the bill specifically. They have been working diligently with Senator Sidnor and Delegate Phillips, and can answer more in-depth questions in regards to the bill, what we seek the outcome to be, and really how it will be an important bill that makes a dramatic difference in the lives of Marylanders throughout the state. Thanks, everybody. And I'm going to stop sharing and open it up to questions. I just ask you, feel free to unmute. And ask Brianna if you can help me with this stop sharing. Thank you. Don't be shy. And hi again to some of my OPD friends and supporters. Always good to see you.